it up, it's your new groove, yeah. Riding waves in the digital blue, yeah. CDO time's got that insight, yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Bytes of Brilliance, boardroom insights where digital strategy and leadership insights merge. I am so happy today to introduce a visionary leader to this audience, and also a friend that I had the honor of working with in the past, Neil Hampshire, the mastermind, CIO and CDO at Oceanspray, steering the brand through its transformative digital journey. Today, I thought it would be great to maybe delve into how Oceanspray is transforming under your leadership, Neil.
Yeah, well, if I can, Carsten, I'll just give a little bit of context about Oceanspray for those who may not be aware. So many people will have seen the Oceanspray brand in supermarkets and hopefully associate us very heavily with cranberries. We are actually a cooperative. That means the company is owned by 700 working farmers who have cranberry farms around the country. And so unlike other large organizations that you may see on the shelves in a supermarket, Oceanspray is actually kind of making money for hardworking families who are tilling the fields and growing cranberries, and Oceanspray is very happy to be part of that ecosystem. So as a company, it's coming up to 100 years old and has a very rich heritage and well-known brand. And so as we look at the digital transformation that we're going through, we like to position it as building a platform for the next 100 years. And technology clearly needs to be a big part of that. The way I would describe how our initial journey down the digital transformation process works, and really the biggest priority to create a springboard to deliver value was really around data and reporting and analytics and getting more visibility into the business. So over the last 3 or 4 years, the team has leaned very heavily into building what I would describe as a data and reporting layer on top of our fragmented systems. And they've done a remarkable job. That's required connecting, a lot of disparate systems, overcoming a kind of complex and inconsistent data structure, and having to kind of code complex business logic into what we do to create that kind of data platform. Highly leveraging Snowflake as a key part of that landscape and visualizing things through Power BI. And I was surprised when I joined just 4 or 5 months ago at just how well the team has done in creating visibility into the business, despite all of the challenges that we have with some of our underpinning transactional systems. So I'd say that's kind of the first step in was kind of trying to put visibility into the business to help us drive and get control of our data and access to it. The part of the journey we're going on now is to try and, if you like, put more solid underpinnings underneath that data layer. So we've just embarked on a 2.5-3 year journey to really transform and contemporize all of our transactional systems. So as you would kind of expect, there's a major ERP component to that. We go out into our warehousing and distribution. We're also looking very closely at our planning systems, so our S&OP process, supply and demand planning, etc. Really to do a couple of things. One is to upgrade our systems that are in desperate need, but the main driver is around, there's a lot of opportunity in our business to better manage the end-to-end supply chain,
right,
to provide more visibility, and quite frankly, to help our employees have a much more positive work experience, where they are able to kind of make strategic decisions to optimize the business and take some of the manual work around copying data between systems and trying to keep things running with Excel, kind of plugging the gaps. So that's the phase we're starting now.
Is this reporting internally facing only, or is it also customer facing, providing input like from farm to table type information and kind of
No,
gamification experience?
that is an opportunity ahead of us. It's a long way ahead of us, but I do have aspirations that one day you'll be able to click on a QR code on a bottle of Oceanspray, and we'll be able to show you, hey, this is the farm that it came from. Here's the story of the family. This was when it was harvested. These are the journeys it went on to get to your table.
I have to
But
send you a
that's
video of
the
like a
way one.
solution where you can hold, I think it was with like a wine bottle, and you hold the camera on it, and you can see a VR overlay with information about the brand. So I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean that kind of level of traceability is technically available. I've seen it, and in fact used it in the cannabis industry to track things literally seed to sale. But we have some basic underpinnings to put in place before we get to the exciting consumer-based kind of opportunities like that. But to answer your question, the reporting is largely internally focused, and it's largely rear view mirror type of reporting. So it's looking at what we've done and developing insights on what we've done largely. But as we invest in this transformation, as we get better systems in place, we do clearly want to shift our focus to more forward-looking analytics and reporting.
Right. Yeah, I experienced a live demo and when I was at the National Retail Federation event, and I was impressed about like one solution that had a CFO AI analyst that really was being pre-trained on a lot of the internal data and gave very detailed recommendations of business strategies and steps to take. And I think that was really cool. Is that something that you're also thinking about in the future, to sprinkle in some AI capability in generative AI? A lot of companies
100%, both kind of generative AI and kind of old-fashioned machine learning type of AI as well, if it's fair to call it old-fashioned now. I think there's a ton of opportunities for us, as there is at many organizations, to really look at how generative AI and increased accessibility to AI is going to transform our business. I would say up to now we've been in a kind of experimentation phase, and what I'm looking to do and what we've agreed to do is be more intentional and more deliberate about where we go with AI. Part of this digital transformation includes stitching into the plan opportunities where we can step into AI and we can see where there's material benefits, whether that's through Gen AI kind of interrogation of data sets to get insights, or whether that's kind of more machine learning and being able to predict patterns to drive our supply chain more efficiently, or to optimize our production schedule, taking into account many more variables than we have been up to now. So we are intentional about it. We're at the early stages, like I think a lot of organizations, but I'm very excited about the possibilities, both personally and professionally, that this can bring. But it does need to be done thoughtfully, and I think there's a few stories out there already of people kind of making missteps with AI. So we want to be aggressive in going forward, but we don't want to be reckless.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I totally agree with that. I've been helping a couple of companies with their retrieval generative augmentation model, their RAG model, where you use your own data to train on that. And one thing that I've seen too is that some companies are doing like an internal hackathon where they just to look at what could be good use cases and get people involved, skill them up as you go, right? That's good a strategy. And then when you're ready, you probably bring in some partners like maybe CDO Times Consulting, but other folks that have done this before, and then ultimately building out your center of excellence for artificial intelligence, and that really builds on a solid data foundation. So it's awesome that you or you have
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, Carsten, is part of this digital transformation we're doing is to get our data in better shape. As I mentioned, we've got a lot of inconsistency, and we're doing a lot of complex work to map data together and bring it together. So we don't have a massively solid data foundation for AI to really build on at the moment, just because of the challenges we've got. But that's stitched into part of our objectives with this digital transformation, to get a better data platform and more consistent and comprehensive, to allow us to put AI on top of it.
Maybe with that, like when you look at some of the technologies that are really would bring the experience and the insights that you can get out of your data, but also other areas. What technologies are you excited about that that are emerging? I'm thinking like there's with Oceanspray. I'm always thinking, obviously farms that I'm amazed by seeing like John Deere and other companies that have all this AI automation, taking in weather data, taking in sensor data. Is that something that you're exploring, or that's on your roadmap?
Yeah, well, I'll say yes, but I'll qualify it. So obviously not obviously, but our 700 kind of farmers are independent businesses, and whilst we do have some agricultural technology support for them, we're not kind of driving how they run their farms to a large degree at the moment, but we do obviously look to give them advice. We do have some of our more advanced and larger operations that are investing in drones, for example, for fertilization, and a lot of the farms have gone into more automation around water management, which is a huge part of the growing process. I would say most of the farms have kind of sensors within the growing beds for measuring moisture and what have you, to be able to drive automatic pumping and using water based on the needs, as opposed to just kind of time-based. So it's creeping in there. We have like a cranberry lake. We don't have a data lake. But yes, but there is an opportunity at some stage when we want to go after it, to look at that and try and drive insights from that. We do use quite a bit of machine learning and kind of data science to help us try and predict crops. It's not an exact science, and there are many variables in that, but we do use machine learning to try and predict how many barrels of cranberries are we going to get from our farmers, because part of the co-op model is whatever they grow we take, and then based on the profit we make, they get paid based on the profit. So looking at how we both maximize the yield, and then also obviously how we create demand to move those cranberries through the supply chain and into families' hands is where we're spending a lot of our time.
Sounds kind of like crops as a service, CAS.
Crops as it's not quite that. It's there are physical things moving around, but I do think there is an opportunity for us to maybe centralize a little bit more thought leadership on agrotech and sensors and GPS driven activities, but that will be a future, not a current undertaking, given all the things we've got going on.
Yeah, I think that's a good task for an enterprise architect to kind of roadmap that out, and that's where we often have to travel into the future, look at what we need, and then go back and then think about what do we need to do today. I know obviously I've worked with you and experienced you as a great leader, Neil, right? And so maybe this next question, I think that's very important for folks to understand is, besides the technology, digital transformation, it never ends, right? It's not like we're digitally transformed, we're done, right? No,
Yeah.
it's not how it works. But then also requires a mix of technical and leadership skills. How do you foster a culture that embraces change and innovation?
How do we foster a culture? Well, I think, the first thing I'd say is Oceanspray has a very strong and very positive culture where I would say of all the places I've worked at, and I've worked at a number of large and some smaller organizations, it has a very collaborative, very aligned organization. We have a mission to kind of connect our farms through to families, and the organization is very aligned behind that and very passionate about working hard to, as I say, support these in some cases small family farms. And the culture of collaboration is there, and people tend to be open to change when they're open to collaborate, especially when you are aligned on the vision. But I think in the case of technology transformation, a lot of it is around making sure you can articulate what's in it for them, what's in it for the co-op, what's in it for our ability to deliver the mission, and what's in it for an individual. And as we go through this technology transformation, I mentioned earlier that a big thing that's going to change is our people's jobs in some cases, where they are spending a lot of their time on manual data entry and modeling things in Excel. And so there is going to need to be a lot of change management around, new skills, new training, to make sure people have those capabilities. But the underlying thing that I think helps drive the culture change is that very aligned mission and set of values that we have at Oceanspray. That means we are all pulling in the right direction, and as long as we see that this is helping us deliver against our vision, people are receptive to have the conversation. They may not like the change when it hits them, because they may have to, none of us likes doing something different, especially if we're very comfortable doing it, but at least they'll understand and they'll lean into the change and be committed to the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you were talking, I started to realize that it's almost very similar to a kind of a corporate and a franchise model, where you have to really sell in what you're doing, right? In this cooperative where it's almost like you have like many stakeholders, and you have to provide the value, prove the value out, right? And a lot of seeing is believing type, delivering prototypes and things. I can imagine that would be helpful in this space.
Well, I think the other thing I'd say about the change management, Carsten, is it starts at the top, and Oceanspray has a highly engaged and highly collaborative leadership team.
Is there any other advice that you can provide for leaders that are maybe just starting on their digital transformation journey to get started, to be successful?
Yeah, well, I think one thing that I'd just say in general is stay curious. As you know, probably better than most, Carsten, that this discipline is changing and evolving so quickly, and what you can do and what you can expect to do today is not going to be the same in tomorrow, or certainly in the near future. So making sure that you're able to keep in contact with the trends and the opportunities that are there. That doesn't mean you need to whiplash and change what you do every 5 minutes, but you need to have an eye on where the technology is going, and as Wayne Gretzky said, skate to where the puck is. So as you're building these transformation plans, recognize there may be a need for a little bit of agility to adjust and have the opportunities to stitch in some new capabilities. Like, for example, the research we're doing around AI, it's so that we can, sprinkle that into some of the later phases, as we decide how we can use that, and as that evolves and becomes more and more impactful. So stay curious would be my watchword.
There you go. And I think you're also shared that you're a fellow time traveler. You travel into the future. You look at where the puck is going, right, versus where the puck
Exactly.
currently is. So, that's really good
Yeah.
insight. So I think we're right about at the time for our rapid fire question section.
Okay.
It's fun. We're just basically a couple of questions, and you just tell me what comes into mind. So maybe to something easy to get started: iOS or Android,
iOS,
cloud or on-premise.
cloud.
At what time are we going to reach artificial general intelligence?
I'd say 10 years.
I think Elon Musk is projecting it for next year.
Well, he's been projecting self-driving cars next year
Right.
for about 10 years, so I'll stick with.
And
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's
waiting for my
moving very
Cybertruck.
quickly. And the big question on that is how do regulations play into it as well? But yeah, I don't know. I think to be commercially available, I would say 10 years, and I'd be very happy if I was wrong and it was a lot quicker, but
Right.
that would be
Well,
my guess.
without regulation, it could be actually dangerous to have it achieved too early.
Exactly.
We might see so head on. Morning routine for a productive day.
Morning routine, coffee, a bit more coffee, and then probably a third coffee. No, I mean, I like to get in a little bit ahead of my calendar and clear my inbox. I like to start the day with a relatively clear inbox because it'll fill up during the day, as you know. So I do like to do that, and check on your to-do list in the morning and check on it in the evening.
Okay, sounds good. One technology you believe is a game changer for the industry.
Wow, there's so many to choose from.
Pick one.
I mean, I'm not going to say AI just because that's what everyone expects, but I think even more important or underlying that and enabling that, I'd say big data.
Mhm.
So the ability to process and store data at scale to then drive AI and reporting and analytics and machine learning and everything else, I would say I'll pick that just to not be predictable.
Favorite activity after work.
Eating good food and drinking good wine and beer.
I can certainly agree with that. Maybe so that kind of concludes our rapid round of questions section. Are there any final thoughts or suggestions you would like to share with with our listeners?
Well, I'd like to invite them to try Oceanspray beverage and cranberries. I think that would be something I'd be remiss if I didn't make that advertisement. But I just say I've been in IT for about 30 years, and all of us will have good days and bad days, but I really enjoy what I do, and I enjoy what I do because I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly challenging or being challenged. And the environment is changing and so dynamic. So if you are in technology or considering a career in technology, you're making a really exciting and interesting choice. The important thing, though, that I've learned through those many years is that it is all about the business at the end of the day. So chasing technology for technology's sake is maybe okay if you're in an academic environment, but within a business, you've got to tie it back to return on investment and bottom line impact. So don't get isolated focusing on technology and forget the business. So stay connected to the business and demonstrate the great things that technology will and has done for the business to make sure you keep getting the funding to be successful and maybe chase some of this shiny new technology.
Very wise words spoken. Maybe finally, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they find you? You're on LinkedIn.
They can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to connect with me. I'm normally receptive to connections, and particularly, and I'd encourage all kind of senior IT leaders who are listening to this. I'm particularly receptive to young professionals who are starting out in their career, who are interested in talking about opportunities and talking about experiences that can help them develop, and just being a contact in their network that can maybe plug them into opportunities. So I am open for business on LinkedIn. And yeah, reach out and introduce yourself, and I'll be happy to connect.
Great, sounds good. Well, thank you again, Neil. I really enjoyed our conversation as always, right? And so this concludes our episode for today. Keep on innovating. Thank you.
Thanks, Carsten.